This is QTV News coming to you live from our studios on Caraba Avenue, and I'm Jenna Bosonko. Thanks for joining us here at the main news headlines. Navy Officer Corporal Sana Fadera of the Gambia Armed Forces has been sentenced to 12 years imprisonment after being found guilty of attempted treason in connection with the coup plot against the government of President Adama Barrow. Members of the National Youth Parliament have joined the national debate on the status and practice of FGM and called for the enforcement of the laws banning the act. At the high-profile networking event, the United Nations Development Programme presented the Gambia's Responsive and Accountable Transition Project in collaboration with the European Union. In international news, despite a regional court ruling in Ousmane Sonko's favor, a department of the Senegalese Interior Ministry on Tuesday refused to accept the Electoral Commission's request to reinstate him on the electoral roll for his candidacy for the 2024 presidential election. And in sports news, Saudi Arabia is set to host the men's 2034 World Cup after FIFA announced that the kingdom was the only bidder for the tournament. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay with us. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV News, and I'm Jenna Bosonko. On Tuesday, Justice Basiru V. Mahoney of the Banjul High Court sentenced Navy Officer Corporal Sana Fadera of the Gambia Armed Forces to 12 years imprisonment after he was found guilty of attempted treason in connection to a coup plot against the government of President Adama Barrow. As Alucisa reports, 3 of the accused were acquitted of all charges.
The state has charged Sana Fadera and 7 other soldiers with treason, conspiracy and inciting mutiny for their alleged role in the 2022 coup attempt. All accused pleaded not guilty to the charges. The prosecution called 8 witnesses, with some of the witnesses being accomplices, while the accused entered their defense but did not call any witnesses. During the trial, Corporal Sana Fadera denied ever planning to overthrow the government of the Gambia and also denied having meetings with some of the prosecution witnesses and the other accused. Justice Mahoney stated the importance of corroboration in criminal trials, notably in treason trials, and cited the case of General Langtombong Tamba. He cited the Gambia Court of Appeal warning that a court should not convict any person on uncorroborated evidence of an accomplice. Justice Mahoney found the evidence of prosecution witnesses 3, 6, 7, and 8 convincing, as they were not accomplices. He ruled that the prosecution had proven the charge of treason against Sana Fadera, noting that he was convinced that Fadera made a preparation to overthrow the government of the Gambia. The judge ruled that Sana Fadera's telephone conversation with all the accused and the meeting he had with some of them indicated that he had made preparations to overthrow the government of the Gambia. Nonetheless, the prosecution could not prove the offense of treason against Jibril Dabo and the concealment of treason against Ibrahim Asano and Fabakary Jawara. Defense lawyer Lamin S. Kamara pleaded with the court to temper justice with mercy and impose a lesser sentence on Sana Fadera and admit the other accused to bail, noting that they had just gone through a terrible moment in their lives. The Director of Public Prosecution, A.M. Yusuf, told the court that the penalty for treason is death or life imprisonment and urged the court to impose either of the two on Sana Fadera. DPP Yusuf asked the court to remand the other accused person, noting that the state intends to appeal the court's decision. Justice Mahoney accordingly sentenced Sana Fadera to 12 years imprisonment and admitted the 3 accused persons on bail of 100,000 with 1 Gambian Soti. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
Away from that, members of the National Youth Parliament have joined the national debate on the status and practice of FGM in the Gambia. During the debate, several members of the Youth Parliament spoke out against FGM, highlighting health implications and called for enforcement of the laws banning the act. QTV's Mamadou Lamin Choi has been covering the session, and this is the latest.
Just when public debate on female genital mutilation appears to have simmered down, we are now witnessing another one on the same subject. This time by members of the National Youth Parliament. This debate was triggered by the National Youth Parliament member for Latrikunda Sabeji, Esa Sane, who applied to address the Parliament on the subject.
FGM represents an extreme infringement on the rights to dignity, life, health, and integrity of women and girls.
The statement opens the floor for comments on FGM from these young people. The National Youth Parliament member for Brikama North is the only one to have had the chance to debate in support of FGM in the Gambia. He appears to represent a minority view among the young people in the parliament.
I believe it is important for us to focus our attention on those relevant things and leave FGM or leave female circumcision and our religions alone. We are religious people. We should stay by religion. Do not allow anyone to come and want to influence you with their flimsy ideas.
The tone, emotionally charged atmosphere and the arguments reflect the sensitive nature of the topic of FGM in our country, which has left religious leaders and our society in general divided. The majority of the youth parliamentarians who take part in the debate put forward the proposition that FGM is harmful, discriminatory against women and girls, and has no religious basis.
You see, sometimes we have to look at some people and their actions. You say any man that insists, if a woman tells you, I know my problem, you say, no, I know your problem more than you. I know my problem, you know, I know your problem. The man should be checked. It's not normal. A normal person would not do that. You want to tell me you know me better than myself. You're not feeling what I'm going through.
FGM has no good effect. This practice has to be stopped. And National Assembly members were here. Some of them were like, FGM, the ban on FGM should be decriminalized. We want to harm more of our girls. We want to harm more of our women, more of our future leaders. Truly speaking, I am so disappointed at a lot of men.
We are here to make sure that we end FGMC, and I'm in support of whosoever said FGMC should stop. I am in support of you. Don't give me butut for free. Power to the people.
Fongala ne bang musol minka falebo, dinnon minka falebo because of FGMC. FGMC is a discrimination against women and girls.
Female genital mutilation was made a criminal offense in the 2015 Women's Amendment Act. Public debate on FGM became widespread after 3 women were found guilty and fined by a magistrate in the Central River region. These were the first successful prosecutions since the law's enactment. Over a month ago, in the same chamber, National Assembly members expressed their position on the FGM debate. Based on the number of names who did get to speak, there was popular sentiment in support of FGM, leading to some calling for the decriminalization of the law that bans it in the Gambia. Mahmoud Lamin, QTV News.
Interesting sitting at the National Youth Parliament proceeding. Now moving away, at a high-profile networking event, the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, presented the Gambia's Responsive and Accountable Transition Project in collaboration with the European Union. Lena Igwenyiba has the rest of that story.
This networking event serves as a follow-up to the initial unveiling in May by President Barrow of the Gambia's Responsive and Accountable Democratic Transition, also known as the EU-UNDP Great Initiative. The EU-UNDP Great Initiative, a €9 million venture funded by the European Union, will be implemented by UNDP in partnership with the Ministry of Justice. It is set to run from the current year until 2027, with the core mission of bolstering democratic systems and governance in the Gambia. Here is Mandisa Mashologu, the UNDP resident representative.
We not only see this project and program as just a vision, but we see it as a concrete and ambitious endeavor in which we can serve our collective dedication to foster responsive and accountable governance in this nation.
Corrado Pampoloni, the EU's ambassador to the Gambia, emphasized the EU's dedication to fostering a responsive and accountable democratic system in the Gambia.
The European Union is and will be firm in its commitment to supporting democracy, upholding human rights, and fostering good governance globally. With the great projects, we do again walk the talk. Investments in good governance are more instrumental than ever to support the decisive and substantial effort of the government to foster and consolidate the Gambia's recent transformative democratic journey.
Safi Sankare Faraj, the Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Lands, Regional Administration and Religious Affairs, shed light on how the third objective of the GREAT initiative, namely the strengthening of local governance, holds particular significance for her ministry.
Councils. We believe that a comprehensive review of the Local Government Act and related laws and regulations are a necessity to ensure that they are up to date with best practices and align these statutes with others that have, to a significant extent, impacted the revenue mobilization capacity of councils. Such alignment will empower councils to implement projects and deliver vital services effectively.
The EU-UNDP GREAT initiative places a strong emphasis on citizen engagement, especially the active participation of women, youth and marginalized groups. It aims to empower civil society organizations, the private sector and the media to advocate for increased participation, transparency, accountability and responsiveness in governance processes. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena E. Igwenyiba.
From that story by Lena E. Igwenyiba, we will now go for a short commercial break, and when we come back, we have local, international, as well as sports news. Do stay with us.
Trade Fair is back at the Independence Stadium. The Gambia Youth Chamber of Commerce, in collaboration with the Gambia Women Chamber of Commerce, presents 5th edition of National Youth and Women in Agribusiness and Tourism Trade Fair 2023. We are going bigger with variety of amazing products from remarkable youth and women entrepreneurs from the Gambia. We will also be hosting vendors from Senegal, Mali, Nigeria, Benin and Burkina Faso to leverage the AFCFTA's 1.6 billion free market opportunities. Part of side events include innovation competition, Youth and Women's Day celebration, music and cultural performance, among a host of other entertainment activities. Book a stall today and showcase your business from the 1st to 25th of December 2023. You heard me right. A whole 25 days of sales and networking at the Independence Stadium, Bakau. For further inquiries, call us on 368-5556 or 203-1080. Better still, 52-00045.
Technology has always been at the forefront of our lives, and the way we use it has evolved drastically over the years. With the advent of 5G internet, we are entering a new era of technological innovation that promises to transform the way we live, work, and play. 5G internet is capable of providing data speeds up to 100 times faster than 4G, making it the ideal solution for streaming high-quality videos, playing online games, and downloading large files on the go. 5G internet is already transforming cities across the globe, powering smart cities, self-driving cars, and virtual reality experiences that were once thought impossible. 5G internet is also paving the way for Internet of Things, allowing for seamless connectivity between devices and the creation of a truly connected world. For the first time in the Gambia, QCell is bringing tomorrow's technology to you today with the launch of QCell 5G Internet. Get ready to experience the out-of-this-world wonders of QCell's 5G Internet. For more information, call 111. QCell. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV News, and I'm Jenna Bosonko. Now, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has donated 3 40-foot containers of sacrificial meat to the government of the Gambia to be distributed to the poor and needy. Loli M. Kamara witnessed the handing over ceremony at the seaport in Banjul, and this is her report.
Every year, Muslims from around the world gather at the holy city of Mecca in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to perform Hajj, an obligatory pillar of Islam. On the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, or Eid al-Adha, which is the 3rd day of Hajj, animals are slaughtered on behalf of pilgrims after the stoning of the devil at Jamrat. It is this meat that is distributed to millions of people in over 27 countries in Asia and Africa. Officials of the Supreme Islamic Council and the Ministry of Finance are here to receive the donation. Alhaji Issa Fode Dabo, President of the Supreme Islamic Council, thanked the Saudi authorities and assured them that the meat will reach the intended beneficiaries.
It is our pleasure to see that the rams that they slaughter during the Hajj is back to the needy and poor people in the Gambia, as well as other Islamic countries that participated in the Hajj. It's a good gesture, so we thank you very much for that, and also thank the coordinating ministries, Minister of Finance, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and also the distribution committee. We thank them for their work, and we assure you that all the beneficiaries on the list will get their shares accordingly.
The Director of Operations for the Ahadi Project, Nesha Gandura, reiterated the Kingdom's continuous support to the poor and needy. He also affirms the efforts of the Kingdom to provide better living conditions for the less fortunate in society. Bakari Kurubali, Director of Loans and Economic Cooperation, who represented the Minister of Finance, commended the Saudi government for this laudable initiative.
For Gambia, we really have been having a very good really working relationship or cooperation with them. And I would recall that the last time that I was in Adahi office in Jeddah, we really had a very fruitful discussion in which they really expressed their appreciation and their really happiness to the government of the Gambia due to the manner in which normally they handle this sacrificial meat and the way they do the distribution. Because each time that this is being done, the distribution list is actually shared with them to make sure that the intended beneficiaries really receive these things, and it is actually distributed in accordance with the laid down rules.
This year's Hajj saw 2,000 Gambian pilgrims perform the Hajj in Makkah. The sacrifice of livestock, including sheep, goats and cows, during Eid al-Adha commemorates a story of the Prophet Ibrahim, who was commanded by Allah to sacrifice his son Ismail, which ended with the angel Jibril replacing Ismail with a ram at the last moment. Gambian officials say the distribution of the meat across the country will start as soon as possible. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
From that story by Lolly M. Kamara, let's take a look at news beyond our borders. Now, a department of the Senegalese Interior Ministry on Tuesday refused to accept the Electoral Commission's request to reinstate opposition politician Ousmane Sonko on the electoral roll and to issue him with documents essential to his candidacy for the 2024 presidential election, despite a regional court ruling in his favor. This story by Jordan Jai is narrated by Mamadou Kajaga.
In response to a letter from the Autonomous National Electoral Commission, SENA, the Directorate General of Elections, said that it has no jurisdiction to take any action on the electoral roll. The Directorate General of Elections does not specify who has this authority, according to Africa News. In its letter to the Directorate General of Elections, the SENA had written that Mr. Sonko should enjoy his status as a voter registered on the electoral roll with all the rights that are attached. Mr. Sonko has been removed from the electoral roll, which prevents him from competing in the presidential election. The government essentially argued that Mr. Sonko's conviction in absentia in a vice case in June justified his removal from the electoral roll. Mr. Sonko, who has been in prison since the end of July, on other charges, denounced these cases as a plot to keep him out of the presidential election. On the 12th of October, a judge in Ziguinchor, in southern Senegal, ordered that Mr. Sonko, the central figure in a turbulent and violent political and legal saga with the state that has been holding Senegal in suspense for 2.5 years, be reinstated on the list. The SENA controls and supervises the electoral process, from registration on the list to the provisional proclamation of results. The election are organized by the Ministry of the Interior. However, a spokesperson for SENA admitted to AFP that the Commission could not compel the Interior Ministry to do so. On Tuesday, Mr. Sonko's lawyers challenged the refusal to issue him with the sponsorship forms before the Court of Justice of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. The ECOWAS Court of Justice said that it would render its verdict next week on Senegal's dissolution of Sonko's political party. However, it must be noted that in recent years, the ECOWAS Court has handed down judgments that have been ignored by governments, most notably in Sierra Leone and Cape Verde. Meanwhile, Sonko has since remained hospitalized because of a hunger strike he began earlier this month, and as he awaits a decision from the West African Regional Court. Sonko finished third in the last presidential election, and his supporters believe that the criminal allegations brought against him since 2021 are part of an orchestrated campaign to derail his political aspirations ahead of the presidential election in February. Since that third-place result, Mr. Sonko's party has been in coalition, which has registered significant electoral victories and now has the second highest number of parliamentary seats. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
Now let's take a look at what is happening in the world of sports. Saudi Arabia is set to host the men's 2034 World Cup after FIFA announced that the kingdom was the only bidder for the tournament. More in this report by Ali Sise.
The announcement came after Australia decided against bidding to stage the tournament as before FIFA's deadline for the declaration of interest on Tuesday. The decision will be approved officially at the end of 2024 if the kingdom meets all the requirements. At one stage, Indonesia had considered a joint bid with Australia or other countries including New Zealand, Malaysia and Singapore, but on October 19th, it agreed to support Saudi Arabia's bid. The bid comes a year after neighboring Qatar hosted the first World Cup in the Middle East, where the Saudi national team scored a stunning group stage victory over eventual winners Argentina. At this point, only expressions of interest have been submitted. After the full bids of 2030 and 2034 are handed over, they will be evaluated by FIFA and put to a vote at two separate Congress meetings at the end of 2024. Saudi Arabia has invested heavily in football as well as Formula One and golf and is set to take over from an unprecedented tri-continental lineup for the 2030 event, which will be shared between Spain, Portugal and Morocco, with 3 matches in South America to commemorate 100 years of the first World Cup, which took place in Uruguay. Saudi Arabia was initially interested in bidding for the 2030 World Cup alongside Egypt and Greece, but that idea was abandoned in June, leaving the path open for Spain, Portugal and Morocco and South America. Acquiring the rights to host the World Cup, a policy which emanates directly from the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, will be the latest step by Saudi Arabia to plant itself firmly in the center of the sports world. The kingdom is already preparing to host the next Club World Cup at the end of December and the 2027 Asian Cup. Saudi Arabia will also host the 2029 Asian Winter Games in a futuristic complex under the construction in Neom, a new urban area. The kingdom faces an even bigger job as the tournament will no longer be a 32-team event, but rather 48 teams will be present at the finals. According to FIFA, that means 104 matches which require a minimum of 14 stadiums with between 40,000 and 80,000 seats and at least 72 base camps. Last month, President Barrow received Saudi Arabia's tourism minister Ahmed Ben Akil Al Khatib, special envoy of His Majesty King Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud. At the time, there were others in the race, and his visit, among other things, saw the Gambia's support for its bid to host the 2034 World Cup. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
From that, let's now recap our main headlines. Navy officer Corporal Sana Fadera of the Gambia Armed Forces has been sentenced to 12 years imprisonment after being found guilty of attempted treason in connection with a coup plot against the government of President Adama Barrow. Members of the National Youth Parliament have joined the national debate on the status and practice of FGM and called for enforcement of the laws banning the act. A high-profile networking event with the United Nations Development Programme presented the Gambia's Responsive and Accountable Transition Project in collaboration with the European Union. And in international news, despite a regional court ruling in Ousmane Sonko's favour, a department of the Senegalese Interior Ministry on Tuesday refused to accept the Electoral Commission's request to reinstate him on the electoral roll for his candidacy for the 2024 presidential election. And in sports news, Saudi Arabia is set to host the men's 2034 World Cup after FIFA announced that the kingdom was the only bidder for the tournament. Well, that is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thanks for watching.